guys. Welcome to the Bama News Network. Today for your coverage, we're going to be going on to a special topic of problems that are wrong with the U.S. healthcare system.
We've got a video coming to you guys from the other day at a local hospital. Pretty scary stuff going on out there.
Yep, let's cut to that. That's the code blue. We gotta get him in the OR. Scalpel. Oh wait, I'm by myself. Sterile fill being placed down. I think I see something. Oh my God. It's complete.
What happened? My arm.
Oh. He's awake. Huh. Oh. How you doing, buddy?
I've been better.
Been better, yeah. Do you remember anything?
No.
You don't remember anything? Do you perhaps remember fighting a buck?
No.
Yeah, we ended up pulling this out of your arm the other day in the OR. It's pretty serious.
Doesn't look that bad.
That was a nasty clip.
You hate to see that happen to a guy.
But speaking about this, sociology, medical treatment usually begins with a dialogue. And that dialogue, you really need to be able to understand each other.
There was a study by Eric Castle. He identified 3 pillars for effective communication between a doctor and a patient. First, you need to reduce uncertainty. Second, provide a basis for action. And third, strengthen the physician-patient relationship. The first pillar about reducing uncertainty was pretty clear that it didn't happen in that skit that we showed you guys. There was confusion about what occurred between the patient and the doctor. He woke up, didn't know. The doctor came in very nonchalantly and was joking around with him, which then weakened that relationship that they tried to build because there wasn't like a reassuring attitude or like comforting action at all. Yeah.
Speaking on that note, doctors tend to answer questions in a really evasive way, which actually tends to be the most common form of communication used. And physicians actually said that they would not explain the disease to the patient because they would not understand what they were told, or they would be vague and ultimately frighten the patient. And so actually what's happening nowadays is schools, medical schools specifically, are starting to do communication practice at the very beginning of school. So I actually went and I interviewed a school, and they told me that the very first thing that they do nowadays is they do doctor-patient interactions. So they actually go and they hire people off the street that are 18 years or older, and they pay them to learn a skit. And then they introduce doctors into a medical room to where they then ask questions and they try to find out problems. And these guys have to stick to their skit. And then while they're doing that, doctors are actually walking behind the rooms, and they then monitor their communication to see how well they're doing.
All right. So far we've talked about communication and how important it is to have a healthy relationship between patients and physicians. Without it, if physicians don't treat their patients as people, they focus on procedures, and without that, they're more likely to make mistakes and open themselves up to malpractice lawsuits. Thankfully, rates have been dropping since 1988, but there are still a lot of cases of incompetent physicians.
Yeah, so building on top of that, according to George Richer and David Walczak, medical doctors are experiencing a process of deprofessionalization. They define this as a decline in power, which results in a decline in the degree to which professions possess a constellation of characteristics denoting a profession. So in simple terms, that actually just means that this is a decline in a profession's autonomy and control over clients. Now this affects physicians by, they still remain the greatest authority in medical affairs, but that authority is no longer absolute, and medical work is subject to greater scrutiny by patients, healthcare organizations, and government agencies. And then this kind of leads to malpractice. And one cause of malpractice is increased costs. And actually, in 1980, on average, of $1,100 per person was spent on healthcare in the United States. Which was the highest in the world at that time. By 2008, this number increased to $7,681. However, estimates made for 2019, made before healthcare reform, indicate that health costs could average $13,387 for every citizen.
Interestingly, in Alabama, 90% of patients lose their cases, and between 2004 and 2014, Albanians received less payment per capita in medical malpractice cases than residents of any other state in the nation.
Yeah, and probably one of the biggest malpractice cases that happened in Alabama is the Tuskegee syphilis study. And this study lasted from 1932 to 1972, and it initially involved 600 black men, 399 with syphilis, and 201 who did not have the disease. And what happened were these men were told that they were being treated for bad blood, which was mainly to cure their syphilis. However, these men were not given the actual medicine needed to cure the disease. And even when penicillin became the drug of choice for syphilis in 1947, researchers still did not give it to them. So an advisory panel ended up coming in and found that nothing to show that subjects were even given the choice of quitting the study, even when the highly effective treatment of penicillin was being used. So as a result, the Tuskegee Health Benefit Program was established to provide lifetime medical benefits and burial services to all living participants, and there was also a $10 million fund given to them. With the Tuskegee report, you can see how being poor can affect the community and the individual. To be poor is by definition to have less good things in life, including health and longevity. In the United States and everywhere else in the world, socioeconomic status or social class is the strongest and most consistent predictor of a person's health and life expectancy across the life course. While other social demographic variables such as race, gender, and age have important effects on your health, the explanatory power of class position is demonstrated when it interacts with these other variables to produce differences beyond those already produced.
And while you talk about class here, let's focus a little bit on race instead. Studies have shown that there's disparities between races and how they have access to primary care providers. For instance, whites, 79.1% of their population has access, 72.6% of African Americans have access, only 70% of Hispanics have access, and 74.2% of Asians have access. And that's according to the Medical Expenditure Panel Survey. There's also many differences between how members of these certain races or ethnicities interact with physicians. Irving Zola conducted a study that shows how different cultures report illnesses to their physicians. Irish patients, for example, are more likely to understate their issues and not use enough detail to help the physician out in diagnosing a problem, whereas Italians are more likely to describe the issue in great detail and more than they actually need to help the physician diagnose. And this is for like the same illness that both have. Studies have also shown that recent immigrants who have very limited English also feel more uncomfortable with physicians because they have different cultural norms from the countries they've come from. They have different understanding of what to expect and what is needed of them, so they're a lot less likely to comply with a doctor's expectations and needs. Doctors also can be condescending in many cases to foreign patients and may discount their views and opinions on their issues.
Back to the lower class. The lower class, even in modern nations, suffers more from the typical diseases of past human existence, such as influenza and tuberculosis, in comparison to the upper and middle classes. Also, it is especially disadvantaged in regard to health, the lower classes. This disadvantage extends not only to communicable diseases associated with unhealthy living situations, but also to chronic health problems such as heart disease that are more prevalent in modern industrialized countries.
Another issue in healthcare is gender disparities. For instance, mostly how men interact with women, whether as the physician or the patient. Sue Fisher conducted a study in a small town in southeastern America where it was a clinic run by mostly white middle-class men, And she found that oftentimes women patients were not satisfied with their treatment and they weren't explained properly by the doctors, like what they were dealing with in their health. Similarly, women physicians experience similar resistance from male patients. Lots of times their credibility is discounted and they aren't thought to be the doctor when they introduce themselves to patients. It's a struggle in many cases for women to overcome stereotypes about their gender and capabilities in medicine.
And back to some studies. Howard Wakeskin, a physician and medical sociologist, studied information given in medical care and found that social class differences were the most important factors in physician-patient communication. Also, another study conducted by Mary Bolton and her colleagues explained that the influence of social class on the doctor-patient relationship is best understood in terms of social distance. Those patients who are similar to physicians in social class are more likely to share their communication style and communicate effectively with them. Those with dissimilar class backgrounds are likely to find communication more difficult because their communication style differs from that of the doctor, and they lack the social skills to negotiate the medical encounter effectively.
All right. To close out this segment, let's take a look at what average Americans think about these issues.
All right, hey, how you guys doing today? Kind of a cloudy, gloomy day, but we're out in the field today doing some sociology work, and we're trying to see, maybe ask some healthy individuals like that guy that just ran by. Let's go talk to him. Oh, sir, please come here. I think we got somebody.
What's up?
Hey, how you doing today, sir?
Can't complain too much.
Yeah, okay, my name's Tyler. How about yours?
It is also Tyler.
Oh my gosh, we're both Tylers. So you're out running on this, pretty good temperature-wise day.
Yeah.
Can you explain some more about that?
Well, just running, staying in shape, making sure I'm healthy. Gotta make sure the body's right, The women always like the body right, so, I mean.
I can agree with that. So you're running, you're trying to be healthy. Do you think going to the doctor would make you healthier?
Well, unless I have like the flu or something, maybe, yeah. But just eat healthy and you'll be good. That's how I feel.
So eating healthy is like an important aspect to you. So, do you ever go to the doctor for regular checkups?
I guess so, yeah. Maybe now and then.
Now and then? Every now and then? But you say about every couple of months or so?
Yeah.
Do you think you go more whenever you're older?
Probably, yeah.
Okay. Have you ever had any problems with the healthcare system?
Yes. Actually, they have messed up my medicine before and gave me the wrong meds, and almost had to call the poison control people. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. He almost had to call poison control because of bad medicine. That kind of butters my biscuits just to hear that, because we're reporting on doctor-patient interaction, and I'd say that your doctor did not really interact with you too well with telling you about the meds. Did he explain the meds to you at all?
Yeah, how I needed to take it and all that kind of stuff, but he didn't really explain like exactly what I needed it for.
Okay, and did he explain the right meds or the wrong meds?
The wrong meds.
So you took the wrong meds. That's I did not know that actually. Wow, that's insane.
Yeah, he explained it as doing this, and this, but I think he was just reading it wrong. He probably read the one above it instead of the one below it that he was looking for, I guess. I don't know.
So did you have any serious side effects from taking the wrong medicine?
Just made me a lot more drowsy, eating patterns weren't the same. I actually vomited a little bit too, so.
That's pretty serious. That's pretty serious if you ask me. Have you experienced any social inequalities? Like, do you feel like you were ever judged at a doctor's office?
No, not really.
Not really? Okay, well, I guess that's pretty good. But with the medicine, did you ever think about filing a malpractice claim or anything like that?
A little bit, yes, just because I was a little, PO'd about it.
I can't blame you for that, honestly. But, with malpractice claims, there's actually a lot that go on in our healthcare system. And
really?
And with those malpractice claims, comes a lot of increased prices because doctors are not having to cover for the money that they're having to give out. But then again, if doctors didn't give out wrong medicine, they wouldn't have these claims.
Well, I can see that being a factor.
Yeah, definitely. Well, so I'm gonna let you continue to be healthy.
All right, man.
Go back on your run.
All right, appreciate it.
What do you know?